Wow! What's happening, everybody? Yes, sir. We back. Listen, I am over the moon excited about today's podcast. It gets no better. As a matter of fact, I wish I had the royalty music that I can play right now. Listen, this will be the only time I would stop my intro music for what we have in store for us today. But y'all know how we get down. My intro music is nothing like nothing anybody ever heard. We gonna take it to the street today, baby. But listen, we have to be on our best behavior, family. Okay, wherever you are, we gotta be on our best behavior because we have royalty in the room. So let's, get ourselves together. Before I get into this interview, before we start this podcast for real, y'all know we got to do the commercial. So first thing, this is what I want you guys to do. Text somebody, call somebody, tell somebody that Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette is on the air. We are rolling, baby. We rolling live. So listen, after you do that, then go to Let's Talk with StanleyDoucette.com. Subscribe, like, share, follow, support us, whatever it is. If it's 35 cents, we'll take it because all we want to do is continue to bring you great content and continue to empower people all over the world. To all of my people in Belgium, thank y'all for all of the love and support. To all of my people in South Africa, thank you for your love and support. To all of my people in Japan, thank you for my love and support. And then also, of course, all of my people in North America. We good like that. And then, of course, y'all know I'm originally from New Orleans, so I had to shout out all my people from New Orleans. I had to make sure we good, we good. We're coming up on holiday season and all of those things. I can't wait for all of the good trimmings and all of that stuff. But listen, I don't even want to take a second more to go through commercials. We on all of the social media platforms everywhere, from LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram to YouTube channels. Matter of fact, this particular podcast is going to be on our YouTube channel. So listen, go subscribe, do all of those things. But I'm trying to rush through because this one, I've been trying to get this gentleman for at least a year. He kept saying, we gonna do it, but I'm in Europe right now. I'm in Asia right now. I'm in Canada. Man, can you just sit down somewhere? But listen, we are here today. All right, put the drum music on or something. There we go. Introducing one of the greatest minds that I know in this planet. I will take this young man's brilliance over anybody else you could think about. That's right. I said it here first on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Why? Because his brilliance is you can't even approach the brilliance and the power that he has. On top of that, he has helped millions and millions of people either start a business, get started in life, change their life, change their diapers, whatever it is. He is helping and empowering people everywhere. Now, that is for the common side, but we also have the higher side where he converses with kings and prince and thought leaders and sit on boards of sports empires and entertainment empires. And listen, he is all that in a bag of chips. So for the first time, but it's not going to be the last time, let me welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, our friend, our brother, none other than Lord Dr. Sam Orr. Dr. Orr, what's
Man.
going on?
Man, what an introduction.
Listen,
I'm
you
just
all that.
I'm humbled and I don't know if I can ever live up to that level of edification, but I certainly appreciate it.
Listen, you have changed things from diapers to changing people's lives, from prison to getting doctoral degrees. You telling me you don't deserve that introduction? Man, I know. So wait, let me do this real quick, just real quick. So for everybody that's just listening that's in the car, do me a favor, y'all. Just blow your horn one time. Bop, bop. Just blow your horn one time. I am so excited to have him on the podcast. I've been waiting for a year, guys. I'm telling you. So we're gonna have a great time. I want to say this though, seriously. Get some pen and paper out. Get something to take notes. If you're driving, go back and listen to it. I can guarantee you're gonna hear this song, ding, 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 because he's gonna drop nuggets all during the podcast. So listen, get ready. I wanted to say all of that so y'all can take y'all notes because we about to dig into it. We're gonna dig into it. And I mean we gonna dig. I got a
Got
question
me
for you.
scared.
No, no, don't be scared. Before we get into the title of this podcast and all of that stuff, I was asking some of my friends and people all over the country, actually all over the world, what is one question that they wanted to ask you? And you know what the one question is? It wasn't about your empire. It wasn't about your lordship. It wasn't about your your doctorate, none of that. Guess what these crazy people wanted to know?
Okay, what they want to know?
Are you dating anybody?
No, I'm not dating anybody. I tell you what, nobody had the time to fool with somebody that is always on the go, always traveling, always head down. Like you said, even getting on this podcast, it took a year. That's because I have my head down, just focused in on the bigger picture, so to speak. But the answer
I
to the question,
understand. All
nah.
right, so now all of my friends, I got that out the way. I asked, so y'all don't have to come ask me. Can you please? No, it's done. All right. So
Right.
now let's get into the power of just this book and everything. So first of all, the title of our podcast in the day is just the mindset of a champion. I stole your title of your book, the
Okay.
mindset of a champion. But most people don't know you are a two-time author. This is not your first time writing, but you're a two times author. But here's what I want to do for those that may not know you. Who is Sam Orr?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it's just a country boy, if you hadn't figured that out by now, who really, have a passion for the empowerment of people. I have one of my mentors, he's passed along, Dr. Miles Monroe, and he always teaches 7 P's. And one of those P's, in terms of P's and Paul, one of those P's, it talks about understanding your purpose. Why are you here? And for
Yes.
me, my purpose is the empowerment of people. So, anytime people ask who I am, all the titles aside, I'm just a person who is passionate about the empowerment of people, helping people. How can we continuously help people? Yeah, there are the titles and all these other things, and it's cool, but at the end of the day, I'm about people.
Just about people.
Just about people
You know,
in every
it's
regard. Yeah, in
yeah.
every regard. So regardless of what title you can and talk about, it's all about what is that title doing in terms of the empowerment of people.
As we're going through this interview, I kind of want to build it from Montgomery, where you
Okay.
from, and then build it to this book, and then we're going to dig into the book. But when you first started, you were in Montgomery. Most people think they see you polished. You got a doctorate degree, you got territory, all this other stuff. But can you share with the audience just where you actually came from?
Yeah, it didn't start that way, trust me. It started in, like you said, in Montgomery, Alabama. As a matter of fact, it was suburban Montgomery, if you could call
Oh,
it suburbs. It was called Madison Park. And this was a place where, dirt roads, no stoplights, no indoor plumbing. There was an outhouse. We had an outhouse. If one of my chores every day was to pump the water for the day for the
wow.
family, through a pump, priming the pump and pumping water for the day so we could bathe, so we could cook, all of those type things. True story. And, I did that from a little kid. I was raised by my grandmother until she passed when I was 13. My mom was a young mom, single mom. She had me when she was 18 years old. And so I was living with grandma and living out there in Madison Park, Montgomery. And yeah, we had the whole farm thing going. We had the outhouse and no plumbing and all of this. But interestingly enough, looking back in retrospect, it was the start of creating a mindset
Mm.
that I still live by today. When I understand that, my grandmother instilled some principles in me, about life, about success, about dreaming and vision, and then the work ethic to go
Yes.
back and execute those things. And when she passed, when I was 13 years old, I was literally devastated because at that point she was like mom. Grandma was like mom,
Yeah.
with her all the time while my mom was, working. And but when she passed, she had cancer, and she had stomach cancer. And I said to myself then, I remember saying this, I said that, I want to be a doctor so that at some point I can find a cure for cancer. And so nobody else would have to go through with what I had to go through with my grandmother. No one else would have to go through. And that was my original thought, in terms of getting in the medical profession when I was 13 years old.
That's powerful. So now, we have this, unfortunately, grandmother moved on to glory, and we are 13. And I don't know if you had, like, some people just automatically know, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this international businessman, or was it just kind of like, I'll be a doctor? What?
Yeah, no, it was all a process. It truly was a process. And check this out: moving from the country with my grandmother to actually then I moved. I started living with my mom, even though she was working, and we moved to the projects. Now, this is for those people who are in Alabama. Very few people may know it's a place called Fifth Street in Montgomery, Alabama. It's not there anymore. The campus of Alabama State University sits on top of it now, but it was Fifth Street in Bel Air, Montgomery, and I actually thought that we had made it, even though we were living in the projects, because the only thing I knew was Madison Park and no indoor plumbing and water and things of that nature. And we went to the
Wow.
projects and we had water inside the crib, right? And we had a toilet inside the crib, even though it was the projects. I'm thinking that, man, we've made it. But again, it was just another stepping stone in terms of what we needed to do in developing a mindset. My mom started instilling principles in me and my two sisters when they were born, and just principles of stick to itiveness and what we need to do to just kind of, be successful in life. I saw her work ethic. She
Yes.
always worked beyond the normal just so that she can make our lives as seamless as possible in terms of whatever we had to transition to. So I noticed her work ethic. I noticed her commitment. I noticed her sacrifices. She
Mm,
always made sacrifices so that if we didn't have, we didn't know we didn't have. She
right.
made sure that we were comfortable and were able to get the things that we needed. But if you're understanding a pattern here, these women, my grandmother and my mother, they started to instill these values that again I still live by today. It is truly a growth mindset that was developed organically over a period of time.
So in your growth mindset, now you're going through high school. Did you play any sports? Did you play instruments, or were you just a
Yeah,
student?
yeah, I'm chuckling because yeah, I play sports. I'm gonna tell you,
I'm scared now.
I went to middle school there called Bellingraph, um, and I was going out for football, and I was playing running back, and there was this guy. I'll never forget. His name was Daryl Westone. He may not even know this, but they called him Quake. And so I'm running back, and he played something on defense, and that guy hit me so hard. He just knocked the taste out of my mouth, and I was running right. I'm just running, and then the coach was like, "Orem, where you running? Where you going? Where you going?" And I kept running. Orem, where you going? I'm going to the band room. I quit. Man, after Quake hit me that time, I left that field. I played football for one day. I left that field, and I ran right from the field. True story, right from the field to the band room, and I asked Mr. Zach Petway, could I get started in the band? And he allowed me to get started in the band. I got excited about music. As a matter of fact, my stepfather, he's passed along, D, call him D, and I told him that I wanted to play saxophone. That was
Mhm.
my instrument. I wanted to play saxophone. I got in the band. I'm excited about it. And D went to the music store, our music shop. He went to the music store, And I was at school during the day, so I'm excited because I know he get my instrument. I'm ready to
Right.
come home so I could get my saxophone, get ready to roll. And I got home, and he had a trumpet.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, he had a trumpet. I'm like, D, this is not a saxophone. This is a trumpet. And he said, "Well, that look like that's what you gonna be playing." Man, I was so mad. I was so upset because I didn't want to play trumpet. I wanted to play saxophone. But even all of these little stories, as I share this with you, I can see God in the midst of it all,
Yeah.
just guiding my footsteps to what inevitably created who I am. I can look back in retrospect and just see very clearly that God was ordering my footsteps, because even the fact that I didn't play saxophone and ultimately played trumpet, that's an important part of my life. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, God was ordering my footsteps, even though that day I wasn't happy with nobody.
Well, you speaking of that, and I want to stay on that music piece for a second because a lot of people don't know the level of what you actually took your career in terms of music. But before I get that, so you went from middle school, obviously high school, you played in the band. Then how did you go from the band and went on to university, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so I continue to play in the bands, and these guys I have to give them a lot of credit. In junior high school, middle school, Bellingraph, Zach Petway, and then when I went to high school at Sidley Lanier, Farrell Duncan. These two guys, who were my band directors, were my first exposure to mentors.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
and mentorship is so important. I know we're going to talk about the book, but I talk extensively in the book about mentorship. In fact, I think I referenced Farrell Duncan in the book. But getting involved in music, it gave me that extracurricular activity that kept me off the streets, that gave me something to be proud of. Again, it gave me something to shoot for outside of just being out there and doing crazy things. And when you look at even society today, it's important to understand that these extracurricular activities, as well as these mentors, because I didn't have a male figure in the household, it was important in my development as a person. So Farrell Duncan took me under his wings as one of his students. I was one of his top students. I'm proud to say that. We did all-state band competition, and
Oh,
we
that's
always
good.
had superior ratings. I did individual competitions and had superior ratings. So, it just started developing a character within me. And then um, here's where, I mean, the rubber met the road in terms of a transitioning point in my life. Farrell Duncan,
Mhm.
again, remind you, he is a band director. He took the initiative to drive me from Montgomery, Alabama to Tallahassee, Florida. He was a graduate of Florida A&M University. He studied under the masterful Dr. William P. Foster back in the 60s. He was one of his students. And he graduated from Florida A&M, and he said, "You know what? I want to take you down. I want to introduce you to Dr. Foster. I want to introduce you to some of the band people, but more importantly, I want you to audition for this music scholarship."
Oh,
And yeah, and I'm like, okay, now you got to think about this. I was happy about it, but by the same token, I had mixed emotions because I had actually applied for the University of Alabama.
mm.
I had met, I think his name was Johnny Majors, the band director at University of Alabama. I had spent some time on the campus during the summer. I was with a program called Upward Bound, and it
Okay.
was,
All the
students.
smart people.
Well, I don't know if it was smart or not, but
Yeah, all
people.
the smart people.
But being there, my focus, I'm like, okay, I'm going to the University of Alabama, roll tide. But then when he took me down to Florida A&M again, understanding how God is ordering my footsteps organically, I'm like, I never been exposed to historically black colleges from that degree. I mean, I know I lived near Alabama State, but I wanted to leave home. And then I'd never heard of Florida A&M. As a matter of fact, when I first saw it, I'm like, where are we going to? What is this FAMU? What's FAMU? What is FAMU? Where are we going with this? And
Right.
he took me there. And long story short, I auditioned for a scholarship, and I got a full scholarship to Florida A&M. Now, my whole thing is, sorry about this phone. My whole thing is, I told him, and I've said this after he recently passed, but I said this to him that, I don't know if I was good enough to get the scholarship or he pulled some strings, but nevertheless, I got a full scholarship. And the guy that actually did the audition, his name is Dr. Julian White. He was band director after Dr. Foster passed, and I asked him about a year ago. Actually, I said, Dr. White, I've been wanting to ask you this for all of these years. You did this audition. Now, was I good enough to get this scholarship? Or did you guys just pull some strings to get me in? And he just said this about a year ago. Sam, let me tell you, you were good enough. So I was like, okay, all right, okay. So
No,
yeah, so
that's good.
yeah, I had a good time at Florida A&M. I think to this day, I've been the only two-time president of the Florida A&M University Band, the Marching 100, two-time president of the band, two-time president of the Kappa Kappa Psi Band fraternity. Just I can go on, and it's not about me, but the initiative that Farrell Duncan took that changed my life by the mere fact that he decided to take one of his students to his alma mater and get him set up.
The reason I wanted to ask and bring those stories to the forefront is a few things. Remember, because audience, we're talking about the mindset of a champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, even though he had adversity, he continued to build towards his success, right? He was open to other things that was coming along the pipe, from middle school to high school to then going to, as you say, FAMU. What is that? To now being, the two-time president of KK two-time president of the band. Which, if you don't know, FAMU, Florida A&M University, is one of the premier bands in the entire world, not just here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was '87. You guys got the Sutler Award, which is basically the Heisman of bands. So
Man,
all of those
you
things,
own
huh?
it. You own it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hey,
Absolutely.
I did my homework, man. I
You
did my
did your
homework.
homework. Let me
So,
tell you real quickly about that Sutler Award. I ain't mean to interrupt you, but this is very important. The Sutler Award is like if you're in college sports, it's like the Heisman Trophy of bands. And to my knowledge, I know until that point, there was always bands, Ohio State, Michigan, and these type bands to win that award. Well, 1987, we were the first and only historically black college band to ever win the Sutler Award, and that's an incredible accomplishment because it is the highest level of musicianship. And again, that the reason that's important because when we're talking about the mindsets of a champion, Dr. William P. Foster, who is the architect of the Black College University Band pageantry, there are some things that he did in terms of developing people, and we joke about other universities, Jackson State, Southern Tennessee State, and all of these, like in terms of a competition. But guess what? All of the instructors, all of them studied under Dr. Foster. So these were all of his kids. These were all of his, children, if you will, in the music industry. So there was a sense of pride that we all had because we were all offsprings of Dr. William P. Foster.
now you talk about that, but you took that success and you went into business. And
Mm-hmm.
you went into business, which is getting into the mindset of a champion. For all everybody that's listening, you guys are really paying attention. He's talking about mentorship. He's talking about having a superior mindset, staying focused. He's talking about allowing God to lead his path. And then now you go into business and build one of the biggest MLM companies ever, just
Mm-hmm.
ever. And then you built a multi-million dollar business within that business. Can you share a little bit about that? Because we're getting to this mindset, because this book is incredible. Could you share that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had a choice to make once I graduated from Florida A&M. Do I pursue music? Do I pursue medicine? What is it that I should do? And when I went back to talk to Farrell Duncan again, who was my mentor, he's like, "Look, I know you have a passion for music, but you need to get involved in either medicine, business, or something because music is not going to pay you what you think is going to pay you for that lifestyle." And so, long story short, I ultimately got involved in business. And like you said, I built a large multi-level marketing organization. A lot of people like to poo-poo MLM, It's because they don't understand it. The fact of the matter is MLM and network marketing has made more millionaires than any other industry in the world, period. And so that piqued my interest in terms of, being in a space where you can kind of control your own future. And I built a $30 million company within that company. And so there's a sense of pride with that. But here again is the mindset. I had a chance to study with people who had a superior mindset within the industry and outside of the industry. I look at people like Rich DeVos, who came up through Amway. Some of you may have heard the company Amway, and he built a financial empire through Amway and did some other things until he actually owned the Orlando Magic and the Amway Arena in which they play basketball. This was important to me because my aspiration is to own an NFL franchise. So I wanted to take that same path. But yeah, build a huge organization. And it wasn't about the organization. Again, it was still about empowerment of people to be
Yes.
able to say with pride that we created many, many people who have been successful in all types of industry, become either millionaires or do several other things and successful in their own right. That's what meant the most to me.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people get it confused when you talk about the what you built in business, right? And then that's an offspring of all of the, I'll just say all of the other tentacles from clothing lines to music companies to just everything in between.
Hmm.
Everybody get confused from a standpoint of, oh, he just got a lot of money, but that's it. And I'm going to say this on your behalf. That is absolutely the opposite. Because if anybody realizes when somebody's making this level of money that you're making, right, but then still giving back at such the highest level, is incredible. So I'm saying all of that to get to this particular book because I think, audience, if you listen to his statement and his story from ground up all the way to where we are today at the release of the book, The Mindset of a Champion, it has in there story after story about success and bringing you to where you want to be. The reason we started from the beginning on my side of the interview was to paint the picture because most people look at you, you're sharp, you travel in the globe, you get anything you want, from private planes to private hotels to all of this other stuff. And people just like, oh my God. And they think you started there, but they don't realize from the dirt road, the amount of here's something else you did. You humbled yourself to get a mentor, which is in the book, to receive mentorship from other individuals, right? And then
Right.
you literally paid it forward to other individuals as well, from helping, I say kids or children to adults to families to financial advice, all of those things, just as humbling yourself to continue to lift others up. So in the book, The Mindset of a Champion, you even began quoting people. So tell us now about the book. We set all of this up just so I really want people to grasp this because I don't think they understand how powerful this is of what your story really is. And this is just the beginning of what you have done. So, could you tell us a little bit about the book itself?
Hmm.
How did it
Yeah.
come about? What inspired you? All of those good things.
Yeah. So when I started reflecting on all of the things that had happened, that common denominator in terms of mentorship was the way that they think.
Yes.
Successful people think a certain way. Successful
Mm-hmm.
people have a certain level of work ethic and sacrifice that's second to none. And I started noticing this common denominator. I'm like, wow, this is something that everybody needs to be exposed to. Because here's the thing, humans typically take the path of least resistance. In other
Yes.
words, they try to take the shortcut to success. They suffer from this disease called stinking thinking. They suffer from this thing from the Willie Lynch syndrome, which means, you basically try to hold each other back in some capacity because
Right.
of this, that, and thus. There's so many things. And then you got all of these isms, racism and sexism and all this other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, none of that matters to people who are successful because they're going to win in spite of. And so I started studying all of these successful people. Even the fact that, like I said, God has been ordering my footsteps. When I look at how my life progressed, and we didn't talk about how we were going to do this interview, but
Right.
when just the way you have laid it out and how all of this progressed, I can tell you this beyond a shadow of a doubt. The reason that my life was developed the way it was is because I needed to build credibility, right?
Yes.
In order to sit down with kings, queens, governors, presidents, and everybody in turn that has spheres of influence. I have sat down with all types of people all over the world who have major spheres of influence, but that would not have been possible had I not been able to build credibility and capacity. If I
Mm.
wasn't able to build that credibility and that capacity, what built the capacity? Well, the diversity, the adversity, I mean, all of the adversity that I had to deal with from the starting out on the dirt roads all the way up to sitting in Dubai with a prince.
Yes.
I had to build my capacity, and I had to build that through all of the adversity, through all of the people. People like to dog you out. They like to say this and do all of this other kind of stuff, but you have to still build in spite of. So you build that capacity, and then the next thing you have to build credibility, because the question becomes, why would these people sit down and talk to you? Why would these people even listen to what you have to say? You know why? Because I come with a level of credibility that was not given, it was earned. It was
Yes.
earned. And so now, not only do I ask that you sit down with me, I insist that you sit down with me, because we have a fiduciary obligation to go out and take these messages and spread that to other people. So when you look at the book, The Mindset of a Champion, it talks about all of these people, from Gandhi to Muhammad Ali to Oprah Winfrey to just everybody who has, in my opinion, had that common thread of how they thought. No
Yeah.
matter who they were, no matter where they were, there's that one common denominator. And so I wanted to share that with everybody, and that's what the book is about. How do they think, and what do you need to do in order to eliminate your negative thoughts in order to succeed? I still have people today, they would say, I don't understand why you would, lead a medical profession and do that phone thing. I have people today that ask me, are you still doing one voice? Are you still working a job? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost insulting, because it's like you're looking for it not to work. Of course I am. Of course these are the things that are supposed to happen. This is my journey. This is my path. And I'm not living, and this is a tale for everybody who is a part of the Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette audience. You have to understand that you need to craft and create your own future. You have to do that. So you don't worry about what somebody is saying or thinking. You don't
Yes.
worry about somebody else's ideology or thought process. What is it that's going to be best for you? And that's what all these champions talked about.
It's it's so it's that statement is so rich, right? And when you talk about the mindset, just for a second, play along with me.
All right.
What you think about first in the title? I'm just talking about your title. First, you talk about mindset. That's what sticks out to me, mindset. And then the second one that sticks out to me is champion. So
Mhm.
first, play along with me. What comes to your mind when you think about mindset?
Mindset is the key. That it is the engine that drives the car, the plane, the truck, or whatever it is. It is that engine. If you don't treat your mindset um, with a level of respect that it deserves, because it is the engine that's creating everything else, then you'll actually be in a position where you suffer from that stinking thinking. You're in a position where everything seems to be going against you, when in actuality, let me tell you something as a matter of fact, and I'm gonna tell you this from the medical side of the equation. Unless you have some type of disease or something, that I won't go there, but understand this: your mind can only occupy one thought at a time.
Mm-hmm.
One thought at a time. So if you're depressed, and again, I'm saying like outside of a disease or some type of illness, but if you're depressed It's because you want to be. Because
Wow.
the mind can only occupy one thought at a time.
Ding,
Change
ding,
your thought.
ding. I told y'all he was
It's
gonna be dropping them
impossible.
nuggets.
It's impossible for the mind to occupy two thoughts. If you're feeling bad just because of this, that, and thus, again, absent of some medical condition, if you're feeling bad, you know why? Because you want to feel bad. Change your thoughts. If everything is going bad in your life, change your thoughts. Change your choices. I
Wow.
tell people all the time, God didn't make winners and losers. He just made choosers. And where
Woo.
we are
Say
is,
that again.
yeah, God didn't make winners and losers. He just made choosers. Where we are today is just based on our choices.
Mm.
If your life suck, it's because you made choices that make your life suck. Right? Now, we always going to say, well, the man here, and blame the man here, blame this person, blame that person. No, 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 no. Because if one person was able to succeed in spite of the man, then
Yes.
anybody can. Then anybody can. So we don't get into that whole, well, my life sucked because of this, that, and us. No, it sucked because of your choices. Now, here's the thing though, because God is a forgiving God. You can
Yes.
instantaneously change your life by changing your choices. You can instantaneously change your life by changing your choices. You can choose to win. You know how you choose to win? You change your mindset. You change your mindset. You start to develop habits that will force you to change your mindset. Anything you do 21 days consecutively becomes a part of you.
Mm. Mm.
Anything you do 90 days consecutively, you cannot erase without doing something 90 days consecutively to erase it. So
Wow.
why not change your choices and start to put good things into your mindset? Why don't you start feeding your mind with things? I used to call them tapes and tools because I lived what I'm talking about when I studied and listened to how to win friends and influence people, and what makes the great great, and
Mm-hmm.
Big Al tells all, and all of these books and tapes and tools that fed my mindset. And once your mind has been expanded, it'll never settle for going back to the original state. So I always harpen back on all of those experiences that I had listening to the art of winning, listening
Yes.
to instant rapport, how to relate to everybody. You feed that mind, you change that mindset, and then that mindset will transition you from, I'll just say, where you are to a champion. It
So
all
now,
starts with the mindset.
yes, sir. So now going into that, now that's the mindset because I can stay there all day with you. But now from the mindset now to the champion side,
Mm-hmm.
what goes into that champion? I know in the book you talk y'all get the book. I got the wrong side up. Get the book. I promise you, this is going to be the best money you've ever spent. Get the book. We're talking about building from dirt road to a gazillionaire. Get the book. We're talking about from a dirt road to empowering people all over the globe. Get the book. The book is called The Mindset of a Champion. Go to samorr.com. Get the book. I'll give you other ways to get it, but just get the book. I'm sorry, I had to put that commercial in there because I don't
Well,
think
I ain't
people,
mad at
yeah,
you.
I don't think people realize how powerful this book is. Now we get to the champion side, and in the book we talk about Muhammad Ali and Gandhi, and I saw a quote from what's his name with Apple, Steve Wozniak. You said if he said, I'm sorry, if you love what you do and you are willing to do what it takes, it's within your reach. That's a champion's mindset. Can you explain
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, all of these champions, they have a common denominator in terms of how they think. And something that's a big part of, once you develop your mind, now you have to develop a process
Ooh,
to transition from the
wow.
mindset from the mindset through the process to being a champion. Now I'll give you an example.
I'm
This is
taking notes. I'm sorry. I'm taking notes.
I'll give you an example. I know some of you guys, especially my southern friends and my LSU friends, but I follow a lot of teachers of Nick Saban. He's the head coach of University of Alabama football team.
Mm-hmm.
18 national championships as a university, and he has six of those there.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people, because I'm a fan, they think I follow Nick Saban because I'm a fan. I don't follow Nick Saban because I'm a fan. I follow Nick Saban because I love the process. I
Mm.
love how he think. I love the mindset that he has, that transition from a thought to a process to a championship. Let me give you an example. Someone asked Nick Saban recently about practicing, and you keep practicing and until the team is perfect. And he said, you know what? We don't practice to be perfect. We don't practice to be perfect. We practice so much that we can't get it wrong.
That ding, ring a bell, son. Oh my God.
I'm like, what? Because I've always heard, you practice, you want to get perfect. Practice make perfect, or perfect practice make perfect. All these quotes, right? He said, I don't believe in any of that. I just want to practice enough till you cannot get it wrong. And then when I start to conceptualize that, I'm started to thinking about that. And here's the first thing that came to my mind when I started driving, right? When you first start driving, you're 16 years old, you got your permit, your license, or whatever it is, and then you driving, you got two hands on the wheel, and you're doing the signal lights, and you watching left and right, and you're doing the brakes. So you're doing all of these things. But then as you have driven and driven and been driving, it comes to a point where now you're driving with one hand, you're not paying attention, you're doing all these other things. And if you're not careful, you'll just drive somewhere. And so, you guys have said the car just been driving itself. Well, that's what he means when he talks about practicing so much until you can't get it wrong. That means it has become a part of you. So when you look at the mindset of a champion, mindset leads to process, which leads to championships. That's how you
Mindset process champion. Woo!
absolutely, absolutely.
Wow. So wait, you talk about a mindset and following a path or a guide. Again, in the book, guys, get the book. I'm telling you, get the book. Now you went all philosophical on us. You
Mm-hmm.
quoted Aristotle
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
in the work. Guys, listen to this quote. I don't want to mess the quote up, so just listen to it. Man is by nature a social animal. An individual who is unsocial naturally and not accidentally is either beneath our notice or more than human. Society is something that precedes the individual. Anyone who either cannot lead the common life or is so self sufficient as to not need to, and therefore does not partake of society, is either a beast or a god. And that's a lowercase g.
Right. That's right.
What?
That's right.
You
That's
are
right.
quoting Aristotle in your book about finding the right guide. And Nick Saban in that sentence or in that statement helped light that path, if you will, for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we all have to, everybody have these human needs, right?
Yeah.
And just being socially connected, recognition and all of these innate desires and needs that people have. It's important for your long-term success because a part of it is it's important for your mindset. It is important for you to eat the big piece of chicken. Why? Because it's psychological.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for you to take care of yourself to a certain degree. Why? Because it's psychological.
Yes.
It will give you the ability to create, right? Even in the midst of things that does not exist, because you have developed a certain type of mindset, and then that clarity of mind will give you the ability to build clarity in the process. It's very clear for me. Look, I can't sing, I can't dance. There are a lot of things that I cannot do, but one thing I can do is teach and train and build processes to success, because that's a gift that has been given. It comes second nature. It's easy for me to create a process. It's easy for me to create a business. I have 8 companies now. It's easy for me to create those things. The difficult part comes into other things that I have no, passion for. But the things that I do have passion for, because I've taken that initiative, and I'm not saying this about me, I'm talking about what you should be looking for. What is it that you're passionate about? What is your skill set? Whatever it may be, do that.
Man, this is so good. And then you also have a quote about sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Your sacrifice quote, because I
Yeah,
know you talk about.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sacrifice basically is the shortest distance between your dreams and the realization of those dreams. That means you're
Wow.
going to have to sacrifice. Now, I've had many mentors, okay, over the
Hmm.
years, just depending upon the situation. But the mentor, I won't get into it, but the mentor shared
Yes.
with me the fact that progress does not exist without sacrifice. Progress does not
What?
exist without sacrifice. And so when I learned that, 18 years old, my mentor shared that with me. I'm like, wow, process does not exist without sacrifice. So what does that mean? That means if we're talking about, remember, we're talking about ultimately being a champion. So we talked about the mindset. We talked
Yes.
about how the mindset leads to the process and how the process leads to the championship. Well, guess what? In that process, if you're not willing to sacrifice, then that whole segment of that trio comes out. Because you got to be willing to sacrifice. What does sacrifice mean? Whatever it needs to mean. Whatever
That
it needs to mean.
that's deep.
If you need to get up early, stay up late, don't sleep, whatever that means in terms of sacrifice, then you have to be able to do it. And you have to be able to do it with passion. You have to be able to do it with glory and vigor. Because if you don't, then you're a fraud to yourself and you cannot fool your mind. You cannot fool
Wow.
your mind. You might be a fraud to your husband, you might be a fraud to your wife, your friends, you might even be a fraud to your kids, but you can't be a fraud to yourself. And that is what causes internal strife when you be a fraud to yourself because you're telling your kids one thing and and everybody else know you're a loser, right?
Yes.
So now that brings forth internal strife because you're telling your kids and your wife how great you are, yet you're doing everything to be ungreat. And I'm just making up that word to be a loser. Well, it's just as simple to be a winner. Just change your thoughts. Try it. See what happens.
I remember we were talking about a mindset, right? There's a couple things that come to mind. I remember one time I forgot what I was looking at, but I remember Beyonce doing and for those that don't know, Beyonce is this international superstar in entertainment. And she said for 3 days she worked and she forgot to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I know some people right now got a piece of chicken in their hand listening to it and go, oh, all right. But here's the thing. You told me a quote when I was a young pup coming up. You told me a quote and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but you was talking about sacrifices and you was talking about doing things and you made a statement in business to me and you said, what happens if your creator put you in this business for you not to make money? I was devastated, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
I was devastated. I was not in business to be friends. I was in
Yep.
business because you saw somebody that was the same as you coming up making gazillions of dollars. And that statement came to me. Can you share with the individuals? And then we're going to close out because it's so rich. But
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean for those that are building businesses or building practices or building schools or building sports franchise or whatever? What does that statement mean to you?
Well, simply put, is this: if you believe in God, it's not your will be done or my will be done, but Thy will be
Mm.
done. Thy will be done. So, what does that mean? How does that relate to business? How does that relate to the scenario that you talked about? Well, look, you may be in business for one thing. You may be in business and you're thinking that this is the path you're going to take and this is what you want to do and all these other kind of stuff, but you can't lead and be led at the same time. You can't do it at the same time.
Man, you dropping these bombs on this. Oh my
You
God.
can't lead and be led at the same time. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
If you're doing what's right because it's right and you're in line with your creator, then you always, always, always want to be led because that is the teaching that will allow you to lead. In God's world,
Mm-hmm.
Being led goes to lead as Omega comes to Alpha.
Wow.
It starts with the end and goes to the beginning. So you have to understand that. So, and I've said this even to my mentor. I said that I'm not a good follower. I'm not a good follower. I don't like following. I don't like taking orders. I don't like be told what to do. That's just not who I am. And my mentor understood that because he understood me. But here's the thing. He said that's okay as long as you understand you got to follow long enough to learn what you need to learn so that you can lead.
Man, this is so hot. This is so on fire. This is, let me ask you, when you were writing the book, right? You did all of this research. Uh, how long did it take you to write it?
Well, the book in its totality was about 3 years, and I say that one big chunk of that was the COVID because it was actually supposed to be released over a year and a half ago. But the thing you have to understand about a mindset book, a thought provoking book, it's not like writing a novel or something about this or that. It's something where it's talking about the mindset or spirituality or physicality
Yes.
and those type things. You have to be inspired and have clarity of mind in order to write those type things. You can't just pick up pen and paper and say, I'm going to write a book. It doesn't work that way. You have to have clarity. You have to have a certain mindset to develop a process of writing. You can't just pick up the book and do it. And you got to be passionate about the patience in writing that. Now I'm going to write some other books, and some of those will be quick fix type books that you can write 6 months, a year, or whatever. But this book was a labor of love because if you get this, if you understand what it takes to be a champion, if you understand the mindset to the process to the championship, if you understand that, then everything else you do for the rest of your life, you have the formula to succeed. You have that key to succeed. I don't care what it is. You have broken the code in order to succeed. So yeah, it took a little while to write that book, but it was intentional. It was intentional. There were times where I said, you know what, I got some downtime. Let me go write, and I wasn't led to write. I had to be led to write. That's how it developed.
Man, that's powerful because, and then also with that, I got to say this: in your upper leadership classes, right? That you teach and all of those things, and you get in it, and it's this no nonsense, non-negotiable. What's the word you always use? You just don't play no games, right?
Hmm.
And you always say, if somebody paying me X amount of dollars to teach them something, I'm not gonna play with your money.
Right.
But being direct, sometimes getting confused on being mean because they have a lack of capacity or they have whatever you want to call it. From your standpoint, and everybody around the world, how do you relate to those individuals from where you sit?
Well, another thing, and I hate to keep harping on what my mentor shared, but it is what it is. It's who I am. What you're referring to is I'm just absolute. I'm
Mm.
absolute in what I think. I'm absolute in how I think. I'm absolute, and I have such clarity. I don't say anything until I've actually thought it through, because I have clarity in articulating what it is that I'm saying. It may seem like this conversation is just flowing off my tongue, but it's flowing off my tongue because I've thought about this stuff for years. It's just not now. So I'm absolute about it. And then people will say, well, you mean and you're this or you that, or why you talk. People get their feelings hurt. You know why people get their feelings hurt? Because again, they lack capacity. If you build yourself to a certain point, you understand the game. Each second is valuable. And we don't have time to play games with your life. We have to be able to hit it and create the future the way you want that future created. So we have to be absolute about it. And, when people try to trick themselves, like I said, you can trick your family, you can trick other people, but you can't trick your own mind. You have to be prepared to ask yourself the right questions in order to seek the right answer. Once again, I can tell you that questions control your mindset. And if you ask yourself a question, then your mind has to seek an answer. But the key is asking yourself the right questions, not
Yes.
to try to satisfy somebody else, but ask yourself the right questions that's going to push your agenda. For example, a lot of people say, why am I so fat? Why am I so fat? Why am I so fat? Well, the mind has to seek an answer, right? And in seeking an answer, it's going to continue to perpetuate things that will cause you to still be fat. Now, I'm not saying that, cause fat people, because I'm a fat person.
Whatever, yo.
But yeah, but here's the thing. The question becomes, what do I need to do to lose weight?
Yes.
What do I need to do to lose weight? Now your mind still has to seek an answer. But the answers that it start to seek will start to tell you what you need to do to actually lose weight as opposed to something else. So those things are very important. The mind, man, the mind is a powerful thing, man. And if you can understand it, and when you understand it, and when you're true to it, when
Yes.
you're true to it, when you're true to yourself, when you're true to your community. I don't mean a black community or a white community. I'm talking about a community of common and like-minded thinkers, like-minded people. Being in the midst of people who are going places, and you're in that, you're thinking a certain way. Man, there's nothing more powerful than you can do when you're with that kind of unit, because you're that energy, and energy is real. It all goes and flows in the same direction. Now, we have a lot of people in all communities, black community, Asian community, all types of people who don't necessarily want to see you succeed in a certain way. So their entire process is they just think differently. They think differently. There are some people, and it's like anytime they open their mouth, it's something negative coming out.
Yes.
Anytime they open their mouth, it's something negative. And I'm saying that has to be a miserable way to live, because you got a choice. You don't have to do that. You're trying to instill your viewpoints or your the negative aspect of your lives onto somebody else. You've heard the phrase, misery loves company. Well, I like to take it a step further. I like to say misery hates to lose company. What does that
Right.
mean? That means a miserable person wants you to be right there with them. So you can make them feel good because they're miserable. They're miserable. They're wallowing in misery and pity, and they don't want you to do well. When you come talking to them about One Voice, or you post something about what you're doing with the Hot Shot Mall, or you post all of this stuff, you know why you only get a few clicks here and there? Because miserable people want you to be miserable too.
Yes.
They don't
That's
want you to leave that, right? But if you're doing something crazy, you get all these posts and likes and shares and all that other foolishness that has no purpose. There was a time that when we were out there building and meeting people, and I'm gonna shut up because I go all day, but
no, no. Keep going, sir. Keep going. Keep going. We
you
got
know,
time today.
there were men who always, a lot of times, we would talk to women about business, and a lot of time the men, they didn't have it. They didn't want to see it. And I used to think, like, you know, man, why don't you want me to talk to your wife about business? Or why don't you, we just talking about business. I'm thinking initially, well, man, you think I want to hit on your wife? I'm not trying to hit on your wife or anything like that. But
Right.
here's my mentor again. It's not the fact that they think you're trying to hit on their wife. What it is you are an example of what they are not doing. You're an example of what they are
Wow.
not doing. And they don't want their women, they don't want their wives, they don't want their kids to be exposed to what they're not doing and what they should be doing. Well, I'm here to tell
Wow.
you, I don't care I'm going to do what I need to do, right? I'm going to do what I need to do because I have to be that example, even if you're not. Now, I'm not saying this to criticize anybody. I'm saying this to bring
Right.
it to the forefront of your mind so that in order for you to succeed and become a champion, these are some of the things that you'll just have to fix. Even if it's bad stuff, it's okay. If you're aware of it, then you can fix it. And if you can fix it, you can become a champion.
Man, listen, that it's so rich. This conversation is so rich. It has changed somebody's life. Whether somebody's going to admit it or not, it has changed somebody's life. Here's what I would like to do, Dr. Orm. I want you to just, if you don't mind, kind of share some of your businesses. Just kind of some of your businesses. I mean, I know we got the samorm.com and people could go there, but kind of just, just some of your businesses because I think people think it's a game. And then I got one last question about the lordship, and then we gonna wind on out of here.
Okay. Well, I do have the entrepreneurial spirit. Like I said, creating businesses has always come easy. Creating processes have come easy for me. If you're actually looking at the video portion of this podcast, I actually have a podcast as well. It's called the Deep Dive Podcast. It's not as your to use your word, it's not as rich as Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, but
Yeah.
but I do a podcast because we want to continue to spread this message of empowering people. I actually do own the podcast platforms. Also, One Voice Radio. It's a radio station that airs in 172 different countries around the world. Because multi-level marketing has been meant so much to me and so many people, I have a multi-level marketing company called One Voice Worldwide. Been around for 17 years now. I'll be 17 years old next month. And several spin-offs from that particular company. We recently launched a online shopping mall. It's a mega mall, and it's designed in the image of a Target or Amazon or online type shopping. It is absolutely massive. The numbers for the first 6 weeks in existence have been off the charts, and we have thousands and thousands of products and services and things of that nature that's a part of this mall. It's called a Hot Shot Mall, and it is a global mega mall. And by all indications, this is something that's going to outlive all of us. It's going to be around for many, many generations because of the success. I've done a lot in terms of the music industry, still working with people in the music industry, record labels, and things of that nature. Just prior to this call, speaking to one of my business associates in terms of basketball franchise. I won't get too much into that, but just owning in terms of sports franchises and things of that nature. So, I mean, I could go on, and I don't want to. It's not like I want to toot my own horn. It's not about me, but all the things that we talked about today. It is a process that will allow you to create whatever it is that you want to create. Some of these businesses that I created, it started during the pandemic. Why? Because I didn't have time to do anything else but just think and
Yeah.
create, and be able to do that and empower not only my business. And here's the other thing, last thing on that is um, I've taken all of these skill sets, and
Hmm.
it's not so much about what I'm doing myself, but I've had an opportunity to work with the best of the best and help them with their businesses, help them with their companies, help them with their ministries. I've helped develop ministries. I sit on different boards. I've helped develop companies. People who are CEOs and presidents and executives and people who have leadership positions. They have solicited my services in terms of helping condense the time frame for them to be successful. So these processes work, man, and I'm just happy to be able to share it with all the listeners of Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette.
I appreciate that, and I know you're very humbled, and you don't get into the whole look at me and look at all of what I do. I'm sure doing the podcast and actually having to do the podcast with the book tour, I know that's probably taken all kind of things out of you. But this last thing that I would be remiss if I don't say this. You are Lord, man. You are a Lord.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay, so this was in 2017, you got ordained as a Lord. Can you explain to us Americans that may not know what that is? I know other
Yeah.
people around the world do, but we may not know what that is. Can you just kind of share that briefly?
Yeah, in America, the title of Lord doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people. But when you get outside of the country, especially in parts of Europe, to have that title, whether you're Lord, whether you're Sir, and of course King and Queen, but to have those titles, they are tremendously prestigious. And I was ordained, like you said, as Lord in 2017. And basically, what that means is the powers that be in a particular area, region, recognized what I was doing in terms of business, the empowerment of people, how I even influence people in that part of the world, parts of Europe. And long story short, their token of appreciation
Mhm.
is to give one of their forms of their highest accolades. And in this case, it is Lord. There is a territory, it's called the Hugon Manor, that I'm super proud of. Beautiful, beautiful territory, Southeast England. You certainly, if you guys ever in that area. I welcome you with open arms. But there are also a lot of benefits that people don't realize, to have that title. Again, not necessarily here, but over there. It opens doors for you. And I'll just leave it that way. It opens doors for you, and it'll continue to give you the ability to continue to spread your message even in a bigger platform. So I pride myself in saying this, and this is the God's honest truth. Within 6 phone calls, I can reach anybody in the world. Within
Wow.
6 phone calls, can reach anybody in the world. And I take pride in that because that goes back to what we talked about earlier, building capacity through access.
That's powerful. And the reason I wanted you to, I don't say end with it, but just kind of put a pause there from the podcast is we started from a dirt road, family.
Mm-hmm.
And from a dirt road to now, as you just stated, having access, opening
Mm-hmm.
doors just with your name. Man, the mindset of a champion is your life, sir. It is truly, truly your life. From again, from a dirt road to having doors open because you walked in a building, an entire territory is just a testament from one grandmother to mom, and then to you and to all your mentors to continue to build you to where you are. So hats off to you and all of the things that you have done for so many that we have yet to even name, but
Mm.
just hats off to you and what you've done. Now, is that time of the show, brother.
Oh
You,
Lord, what time of the show is that?
why?
Man, I'm not doing that, bro.
Yeah, listen, listen, listen. You have to do it one time for the mind. All of the people in New Orleans, I know that's your favorite city, at least for today.
I
You'll
got a
have
question about that. Why do y'all, the New Orleans people, always say New Orleans like it's spelled Newallins, New Orleans?
that's
Why?
right.
What is it? I don't understand.
It's New Orleans. That's right. It's New Orleans.
New
That's
Orleans,
that's
New Orleans.
yes.
I can't even say it. New
Don't
Orleans.
worry, because you too proper. You too proper.
Yeah, I am proper from the country. Eat grits and gravy.
You all proper with it. So listen, for all of my folks, because I know at some point you're gonna send a message to somebody for a stuffed bell pepper. So I'm gonna leave that there. But
Absolutely.
with that being said, you got to give the audience one time. Wow.
Man, look. I feel like I'm betraying my people when if I got to go out and say that's it. There you go.
Listen, to my folks in the Lord Nine, wow.
What does that mean anyway?
And it's just like a call. Some people like it's like saying hello, how are you? But sometimes, we got a little slang, little twang, little ghetto in it, little country in it. So we just say, why not? What's happening? There you
Okay.
go.
All
That's
right, there you go.
that's a greeting.
Well, I've said it. I've greeted all of my Louisiana people with a wah.
Yeah. I sure appreciate it. So listen, we're about to get on out of here. Lord Dr. Sam Orr, we are humbled and we are grateful and thank you for your time, your knowledge, the wisdom that you have dropped on this podcast. Please come back and see us. Please come back and see us. Again, continue the success, continue to build people, continue to build the capacity of others. Family, go get mindset of a champion. And the last but not least, Doc, I'll open the floor up for you. If you want to empower anybody right before we get off, anything that you want to share to that young man in South Asia, that young woman that's in South Canada, anything that you want to share before we get out of here?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to you, Stanley. I know we kid around a lot, but at the end of the day, I have the utmost respect for you, what you're doing. And I said this before to someone else, but I don't say things that I don't mean, and I don't throw that word respect around loosely. The fact that I respect you and what you're doing, it is the highest compliment that I have as a person because I know you're doing some great things and you're empowering your people. Your podcast, Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, it is one of the most popular podcasts around the world. and people are being empowered. I can tell you that these podcasts are being translated into different languages, so we're empowering people in their native tongue. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank your audience. Let's continue to build this thing together. Like he said, the book, The Mindset of a Champion, it is a labor of love for me, but at the end of the day, the content is what's so important. I encourage you to get the book. Just go ahead and get the book and let me know what you think. You can always stay connected with me with my website, samorr.com, or the podcast, the Deep Dive Podcast.live, Live, and just kind of follow us. All my social medias is my name, Sam Orr. So just follow us, like us. We're going to continue to grow and expand. We're going to continue to work together. And I'm looking forward to any of you who are part of the Let's Talk audience, the Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette audience. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you in some capacity, because I know that if we can work together, develop together, create that mindset and that process together, then we can all become champions. So thank you so much, Mr. Doucette, for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. That's very, very kind of you. All right, family, we're about to get on out of here. So listen, go to Let's Talk with StanleyDoucette.com. If you miss any of this podcast, download it, subscribe, like it, share it, roll with it, play it, whatever you need to do, and get this information. There are so many nuggets. I can't even recap this one. I was trying to take notes. I probably got about 15 notes here, and I still can't even count them all. I'm going to listen to it again myself. So with that being said, man, we're about to take it back onto the streets. You may have not heard my intro and extro music, but trust me, it is all that and then some. So family, I appreciate you guys. See y'all next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We out of here. Let's take it to the street. Let's go.